Good morning everyone, my name is Josh and welcome back to another episode of Taste of Nostalgia. This series covers games that were a big part of my childhood, games that I have spent countless hours over the years playing, games that continue to bring me a sense of nostalgia every time I boot them up without fail. But why do they make me feel nostalgic? What makes these games so special to me? What memories always come flooding back to me when I pick up the controller and boot up the game? These questions and more will all be answered as I break these games down and relive pieces of my childhood for you. During the making of these videos, I play through these games once again from start to finish, and write the script as I go so that I never miss a memory or story that comes back to me when I play these games again. Also, if you enjoyed the series and want to see more, consider subscribing and letting me know what game you want to see next. Now let's get into this. So what is on the menu today, you might ask? Well, the game I will be discussing in this episode is none other than Pokemon Silver version. Pokemon Silver version was the very first Pokemon game that I ever purchased. I purchased my first copy of Silver when I was roughly around 7 years old. However, Pokemon Silver wasn't actually the first Pokemon game I ever played through. That honor actually falls to Pokemon Stadium on the Nintendo 64. I have beaten this game too many times to count over the years, and still consider this game to be one of the most consistently enjoyable games I have ever played. I consider Pokemon Silver to be one of the greatest Pokemon games ever made also. The fact that you can explore 2 regions, battle 16 gym leaders, and battle Red as the final boss makes this game an instant classic among the fans of the franchise. In fact, I consider Pokemon Silver version to be better than any modern Pokemon game, which isn't really saying much, but I wish Game Freak could make Pokemon games as enjoyable as they used to. I miss being excited for new Pokemon releases. One of my favorite memories with this game actually isn't a very good memory at all. My most memorable memories of this game involve my first ever copy of Silver that I bought. I bought the copy of Silver for $15, but what the game store that sold me the game didn't tell me was that there was something wrong with the game, as my copy of Silver couldn't hold a save file. Yeah, my first ever Pokemon game, and I couldn't even save my data. I would always boot up the game and start essentially speedrunning the game, trying to make it as far into the game as I could before either the batteries in my Game Boy died, or I had to turn off the Game Boy. Although I wished as a kid that I could actually save my game data and play through the whole game, I always got enjoyment out of playing through the early portions of the game before I had to turn off my Game Boy and lose all my save data. It became an early challenge to me, to make it as far into the game as I could in a limited amount of time. There are many more memories that I have with this game that I look forward to remembering and sharing with all of you during this video. I am super excited to get back into Pokemon Silver again, especially after all the disappointments that have been recent Pokemon games. Now then, without further ado, let's get this adventure started. I found myself hit with a massive wave of nostalgia upon booting up the game. The opening cutscene with the 8-bit music playing always takes me back to when I was a kid playing this game. Does anyone else miss 8-bit music? I swear, we didn't appreciate 8-bit music as much as we should have during this time. How cool would it be though for a modern game with modern graphics to use 8-bit music as its soundtrack? I personally would buy that game instantly. This style of music always brings back memories for me from many different gaming franchises. I start the game and name myself after the legendary Professor Dr. Fapple, whose knowledge and wisdom successfully overthrew the Adrestian Empire with the help of Dimitri and the boys. But that's another story for another day. So we spawn up in our room, and as always there are no babes present. How can you have a room like this and not have a girl over? We set out on our quest to relive the days of our childhood and to get laid, like any alpha male gamer. We go to the lab and get our choice between the 3 Johto starters. My first ever starter Pokemon was Cyndaquil, so naturally for this video I had to reunite with my boy. Normally when I play through Silver or Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I always choose Chikorita. I know that's a bit of a hot take, but I just like Chikorita the best in the Johto region. Don't get me wrong though, I absolutely love the Johto starters, and I think that they are one of, if not the most overall best starter trio in the franchise. I named Cyndaquil Blitz. I never used to nickname Pokemon as a kid, but as I got older and started getting into Nuzlocking, I always started nicknaming my Pokemon. Also, look how funny our face looks in this game. His soulless, straight face always makes me laugh just by how much he doesn't seem to care. He's on a mission to slaughter anything that gets in his way. Just look at him. We arrive in Cherry Grove, and I'm immediately hit with one of my earliest memories in this game. So, one thing to know about me is that when I got this game as a little gamer boy, I had not watched much of the anime. I had seen the movies at the time, and I'd seen a handful of the original anime. I guess what I'm trying to say is I didn't know a whole lot about the world of Pokemon. So when little me made it to Cherry Grove and learned that you could catch Pokemon in the water, it blew my mind. Words cannot describe just how much this blew my mind as a kid. It's really funny for me to look back on that memory and remember how something so simple as Pokemon in water blew my mind. But it just goes to show how new this franchise was to me when I bought this game as a kid. I was exploring a whole new universe, and this game was my tour guide. Anyways, we go north from Cherry Grove and meet the professor, and then head back to fight our rival. I always loved Rival Silver in this game. I miss when rivals were actually rivals, and not some longtime friend who always compliments you and simps for you. I hate modern Pokemon rivals. They offer absolutely nothing positive to the gameplay experience, and Game Freak seems convinced that any sort of negative experience in a Pokemon game will completely Thanos snap their fans away and cripple their franchise. That, however, is another topic for another day. Subscribe to my podcast where I've covered this in depth. Anyways, we kick our rival's teeth in and take his lunch money, and we call his girl a hoe and return to the professor. I end up naming him Band Kid because that's hilarious, and band kids are always the antagonists wherever they go, and they ruin everything with the power of cringe. Yet, there's a side to them that leaves room for growth and development, a chance for them to change who they are and become a better person. I decided to let the mom save money for us. I always do this because it's an easy way to get the Moonstone. I don't know if I'll use a member who evolves using the Moonstone, but you never know. One thing that I cannot believe they haven't included in the modern Pokemon games is the optional catching tutorial. Why the hell is this feature never returned? This is one of the greatest features in a Pokemon game that was cut and never brought back. God forbid little Timmy accidentally enters the battle not knowing how to catch a Starly, am I right? Oh wait, in this game, you can always ask him for the tutorial later if you accidentally said no thanks to him the first time. I miss this feature. Optional catching tutorials is the real source of nostalgia for me in this game. God, I wish it would come back. I make my way towards Violet City, and on my way I catch a Pidgey. I name him Falco, because personally, he prefers the air. I spent a couple minutes grinding Falco up a couple levels for Sprout Tower, and while doing so we got poisoned. I remember seeing the screen bug out when a Pokemon was poisoned as a kid, and I also used to think it was my game breaking, or something wrong with the game in general. I used to save my game and reset thinking it would go away. It took me longer to realize the screen effect was due to a Pokemon being poisoned than I'm proud to admit. With Falco a few levels higher, we make our way through Sprout Tower, home of the cult of Bellsprout. This is one of the best spots to grind for levels early in the game. You fight a ton of Bellsprout, they don't hit super hard, and they give a ton of experience for the early game. I breeze through the tower with Falco, getting him caught up level-wise with Blitz, and make my way to the first gym. Faulkner's gym isn't much to worry about. However, as a kid, Faulkner used to give me problems. He wasn't too difficult for me as a kid, but occasionally he would take a couple tries. His gust attacks from Pidgeotto hit a lot harder than you'd think. Speaking of Pidgeotto, how the hell does Faulkner have a level 9 Pidgeotto? One thing that I always remembered about this game is how everyone seems to cheat in it. Like Faulkner has a level 9 Pidgeotto, Lance has 3 Dragonites under level 55. There are so many prime examples of this game of trainers who are absolutely hacking. Anyways, in this run I beat Faulkner without any trouble with Falco and get the first gym badge. So after we beat the first gym, we are gifted the egg from Professor Elm. I spent some time running side to side in Violet City trying to hatch the Togepi, and when I do, I name it Sunnyside. I like how Pokemon hatch at level 5 instead of level 1. This implies that newly born Pokemon are stronger than Pokemon you find in early routes. Logic at its absolute finest. But anyways, we continue onwards. Shortly into our adventures, Blitz evolves into Quilava. I always really liked Quilava's design, and in my opinion, it's one of the best Pokemon starter second forms in the series. He just looks really badass. We also encountered one of my favorite trainers from when I was a kid, Picnicker Liz. I have absolutely no idea why I liked her so much as a kid, but I always remembered running around to rematch her when she would call me up as a kid. Anytime I played through this game, I would always give her my number, and I still have no idea why. But my skills have been owned throughout my life, and it definitely shows. Anyways, we kick the shit out of Liz and take her money and move on. While making my way towards the second gym, I catch myself a Mareep. I name him Amphi, after the Ampharos we'll see at the lighthouse later in the game. I always run Ampharos in Pokemon games, and even to this day I always run my boy Amphi. He's just a really cool Pokemon and a really solid electric type. Also, during this fight, Sunnyside went for Metronome and killed himself while trying to catch Amphy. Surprisingly though, it didn't kill Amphy. Way to take one for the team, Sunnyside. I also spent some time in Union Cave clearing out the trainers and feeding a little bit more experience for Amphy. I remember there are Lapras that spawn in here on Fridays after you defeat Morty. Once I got myself a copy of Pokemon Silver that I could actually save the game on, I would always go to the cave and catch a Lapras on Friday mornings before school. While I would be waiting for the school bus, I would have my Game Boy out catching myself a Lapras. Those were much simpler times then. We make it to Azalea Town and speak to our boy Kurt and perform Operation Saving Private Slowpoke. The rocket grunts in here are not much of a problem, and the nameless boss is no trouble. I also really like how they have Jessie from the anime as one of the grunts. I wish the Pokemon games did this more often and having characters from the anime show up. I'm not the biggest fan of the animes, which is another topic for another day, but I still think it would be cool if we got to see more characters from the anime make appearances in these games. After the Slowpoke well, I take on Bandkid. This fight used to give me a ton of problems as a kid. Bandkid's Croconaw would always destroy my team. This early in the game, there are not very many good counters, if any, for Croconaw. Even Amphy gets bodied by the Croconaw. He put up a good fight though. This was a good battle, but we take down the Bandkid on our first try. Now it's time for us to head to the gym. Did anyone else as a kid think that Buxy was a girl? He totally looks like a girl in the original Gold and Silver games. I don't care what you say, I think he looks like a girl in this game. Buxy's gym is an example of a gym that got a much needed glow up in the remakes. The gym here is pretty bland and boring, and not much of a problem, so I breeze through it and move on to the Buxy fight. Alright, unfortunately for some reason, my recording software freaked out at some point and didn't record the Buxy fight. He didn't put up much of a fight at all though, so you didn't really miss much. Amphy soloed his entire team, and 3-shot his Scyther with Thundershock. After the battle, Amphy evolved into Flaffy. I'm bummed that I didn't get to figure out that my recording stopped before the fight, but live and learn. Anyways, with that we obtain the second badge, and we can move on to Goldenrod City to get the third. The road to Goldenrod is short and sweet after you get through Ilex Forest. I like the Spearow quest that you have to do. It's a fun little challenge that doesn't take too much time to get through. As a kid though, this challenge was always difficult for me. This, however, made it that much more satisfying to finally herd the Spearow back to the trainer and to get the HM for cut. I will say though, I'm glad that in modern Pokemon games you do not need an HM slave, and that HMs have other means of being used, like assist Pokemon. After Ilex Forest, we come upon the Pokemon Daycare Center. Pokemon Silver is my favorite daycare in the franchise. The reason why I think it's the best is because you can actually go into the pen with your Pokemon and chill with them. I remember as a kid catching Krabby in here and then leaving 2 of them in the daycare to breed and make eggs, and then farming Krabby eggs. I have no idea why I was farming Krabby, but I did. I never even did anything with them, but I guess as a kid I just wanted to have the biggest Krabby collection on the playground or something. Anyways, with that we make it to Goldenrod City and prepare for the third gym fight with the biggest pain in the ass in the whole game, Whitney. But before I do that, I head north of Goldenrod City and partake in the bug catching contest. I used to do the bug catching contest every day it was available. I love the bug catching contest. I wish that modern Pokemon games had fun little daily events like this. I go in and catch myself a Beedrill. I almost caught a Pinsir, but Blitz ended up dying from poison, and for some reason you can't use items from your bag in the bug catching contest. Anyways, Beedrill was good enough to get us 3rd place, and our prize was a golden berry. It's always fun to do the bug catching contest for old time's sake. Now, with that out of the way, we can move on to the 3rd gym. Whitney's gym isn't that hard. Normal types are pretty mediocre in this game, so I breeze through the trainers here without much of a problem. The problem with this gym is Whitney herself. I think all of us who have played Pokemon Gold and Silver as kids have bad memories with Whitney. Her Clefairy isn't much of a problem, it's her Miltank that's a big problem. Paired with Stomp, Attract, and Rollout, Miltank is a major pain in the ass with a solid moveset. It sets up Attract on your Pokemon, and then proceeds to build up Rollouts to demolish your team. Thankfully, I have Amphy who knows Thunder Wave. I paralyze the Miltank and proceed to whittle it down and finish it off with Blitz. Unfortunately, Attract is absolutely broken and we get completely RNG screwed with Amphy. Thankfully, Blitz could revenge kill and earn us the 3rd gym badge. In my opinion, that was the hardest gym fight in the game, but I love the challenge from it. You'll never see a challenge like that in a modern Pokemon game, as Game Freak and the Pokemon Company are afraid of making a game even remotely difficult because God forbid little Timmy loses a fight. Anyways, that's another story for another day. Check out the Joshcast if you want to hear me talk more in depth about modern Pokemon games. With the third badge in hand, it's time to head to Morty and the fourth gym battle. We make our way north to Ecruteak City and meet Bill in the Pokemon Center. We then head back to Goldenrod to his house and get a free Eevee. Unfortunately, you cannot get any evolution stones for Eevee until you get to Kanto. So for now, Celadon, the Eevee, will have to sit on the bench. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to run Celadon and see if we can't get an Espeon or something. I haven't run an Espeon and Umbreon in Silver before, so might as well try something new, right? Before we fight Morty, we head to the Burn Tower and fight the Band Kid. This fight has always been really easy to me, so we beat up the Band Kid and take his lunch money, and then drive away the cringe, saving the day yet again. Seriously, why are Band Kids so unaware of how cringy they are? Can we get a national Call a Band Kid Cringe Day? Either way, it's time to fight another gym challenge. On to Morty's gym. This gym took me forever to figure out as a kid. The way this gym works is that there are invisible tiles that you have to walk on along a specific path. If you step on the wrong tile, you are teleported back to the beginning of the gym. This might be a bit of a hot take, but I actually really like this gym and its puzzle. It makes you think on how to get to Morty, and when you finally figure out the gimmick and path, it feels really rewarding. Now we can take on Morty. Morty is not that tough of a trainer, it's just his Gengar that's a problem. His Gengar will try to put you to sleep and hit you with Dream Eater to drain your HP while restoring his. If you are Nuzlocking this game, Morty is probably the scariest gym leader because of this gimmick. I have Celadon lower his Gengar's accuracy and finish him off. I lose a couple of Pokemon during this fight, but overall it was a pretty simple fight. Now we can move on to the fifth gym. I really love this part of the game. It becomes kind of a choose your own adventure at this point of the game. The reason for this is because you have many options as to which gyms you want to do next. You can go west and fight Jasmine, you can stay in Ecruteak and fight Morty, or you can go east and do the Lake of Rage and then fight Price. The only downside to this is that the levels stay relatively the same. As a result, you're at a fairly low level when it comes time for Claire and the Elite Four. My biggest problem with this game is that you are such a low level when it comes time to do the Elite Four. Your team will be around level 45 to 50 by this time, and that's assuming you're grinding a little bit. If you're not grinding, you're probably high 30s, low 40s, which for a Pokemon game is really low. It is such a minor problem though, it does not change the fact that this is one of the best Pokemon games ever made. I decide to head towards Jasmine's gym and take care of the Amphi quest. When we arrive, we encounter the Band Kid again. He doesn't want any of this smoke though, so he keeps to himself. That is unfortunate for me because I need to satisfy my never-ending urge to beat up the Band Kids. That's a joke, by the way. But what isn't a joke is my eternal war against the Band Kid cringe. Like and subscribe to fight the Band Kid cringe. I make my way to the lighthouse and climb to the top. This is a great spot for grinding, so I clear out the trainers and talk to best girl in the game, Jasmine. Jasmine was one of my first childhood crushes. Little Josh was crushing hard on Jasmine, so naturally, with this being a nostalgic video and all, it's only fair that I kick her teeth in and take all her money. After I rescue Amphi, of course. Speaking of Amphi, the medicine we need is in Cyanwood, and in order to get to Cyanwood, we need Surf. So it's back to Ecruteak to face off against the Kimono Girls. The Kimono Girls in this gen are not hard. You're able to leave and heal in between battles if you need to. Their Pokemon also do not have any moves that are too terrifying. I mean, look at Sunnyside holding his own against them. And Celadon even 1v1s the Umbreon on his own. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, they really buff the Kimono Girls and make you fight them all consecutively until you either win or white out. Either way, we clear out the Kimono Girls and get Surf. Now we can go rescue Amphi to secure the brownie points with Jasmine. But first, I need to find a Pokemon that can use Surf. I head to Olivine and catch myself a Chinchou. I name her Marianne, after Marianne in Fire Emblem 3 Houses. I don't know why, but I always enjoyed using Lantern as a kid in Generation 2. Its dual typing of water and electric is very good, leaving it only weak to grass, which is a type you don't see very much of in Generation 2. The other thing with Lantern is that it's a water type with a special attack stat higher than its attack. I could have gone with Krabby or Gyarados, but the problem with those two in Generation 2 is that in Gen 2, water moves are all special, and Kingler and Gyarados are all physical attackers. So having water moves on them is really bad. So naturally, Lantern is the best pick for me. It does get a bit annoying at times with moves being classified as special or physical based on their typing. Thankfully this changed in Generation 4. Anyways, let's head to Cinewood City and get the medicine. The trip to Cinewood isn't bad. I battle as many of the trainers as I can on my way there to get some experience from Marianne. As a kid, I always believed that the whirlpools could be timed, like I could get over it on the right frame of animation. Keep in mind this was before I learned there was an HM to deal with this. Again, childhood me always had a crazy idea for how to overcome an obstacle in a video game. Sometimes they worked, other times they didn't. I decided to go back to the water and clean up the trainers that I missed on my way to Cinewood City. The reason being that I plan on fighting Chuck for the 5th badge, and his Primeape is very scary. I spent time cleaning up the trainers and now it's time to fight Chuck. Let's do this. So here is the squad before we start the Chuck fight. Overall, we are a little underleveled, but I think we can take down Chuck. Maybe. I don't know, honestly. Either way, we got a good squad here. We got Celadon the Eevee, Blitz the Quilava, Falco the Pidgeotto, Sunnyside the Togepi, Marianne the Chinchou, and Amphi the Flaffy. Pretty good squad overall, I think. Once these guys get evolved, our team should be pretty competitive. This is usually somewhat of the squad I used to run as a kid. This team is honestly a hybrid team. You have members that I used to use when I was a kid, like Quilava, Chinchou, and Ampharos, as well as some new members that I did not use much as a kid. Now that the trainers have been cleaned up on the nearby routes, I think we're ready for Chuck. Let's give this a shot. Chuck actually gave me a little bit of a problem here. Growing up, I never really had a problem with Chuck. But this time around, he gave me a slight problem, mostly because he landed a dynamic punch right out of the gate with Poliwrath. Not much else to say here. I beat Chuck on my first attempt and obtained the 5th gym badge. With that, it's time to head back to the lighthouse and save Amphi, and battle Best Girl Jasmine. The first thing we have to do is return to the lighthouse and save Amphi. After that, Jasmine will feel ready to resume her duties as a gym leader and return to her gym. So I head to the gym and start the battle. Nothing else I can really do at this moment. Jasmine can be a very hit and miss gym battle for me. Sometimes she is a total pushover, other times she can completely demolish a team of mine with her Steelix. As a kid it was the same way. Sometimes I would get bodied by her, other times I would completely demolish her team. This time around, I went to war with Jasmine. Her Steelix was one-shotting just about everything on my team. My team is extremely weak to rock type moves right now. I ended up lowering Steelix to -6 attack and accuracy. Even at -6 accuracy though, Steelix kept landing his moves, which is really annoying. This battle took forever and came down to Sunnyside and Falco taking down the Steelix. Steelix eventually ran out of attacking moves and kept spamming Screech and was almost about to start struggling. Sunnyside ended up running out of attacking moves, so I had to switch to Falco. Falco was able to take down the Steelix, but only because Steelix ran out of attacking moves. Had I not stalled out the Steelix's move, we would have absolutely lost this fight. Thankfully, we survived and finished Jasmine on our first try. Thanks Sand Attack, accuracy really is busted. With that, we can head east to the Lake of Rage and meet Lance. We're chugging along through this game. So far I'm having a blast playing this. If you're enjoying this episode so far, please consider leaving a like and leaving your thoughts down below. It would really mean a lot to me. I do my best to read and reply to all comments in my chat. Anyways, with that being said, let's head to the Lake of Rage. I don't have too many memories with this part of the game. Obviously there are some memories of the game like getting the red Gyarados and meeting Lance, but apart from that, not a whole lot comes to mind. I do remember though that in Mahogany Town, there's this guy selling rare candy bars and won't let you pass. I got stuck on that part of the game for a while as a kid. I don't remember what part of the game that I skipped, but I had to do a lot of backtracking as a kid to find what I skipped so I could progress in the game. I make my way to the Lake of Rage and fight the red Gyarados. This Gyarados put up a fight. It dropped some members of my team with Thrash, but ultimately, my gamer skills pulled through and I caught the Gyarados. I don't plan on using him in this run, just because Gyarados is kind of bad in this generation, with water moves being special and all. It is still a fun Pokemon to have on the bench though. I'm not sure if I will go the rest of the game with this squad. just because of our crippling weakness to rock moves, but I'm not sure. I probably will finish the game with this squad, just so I don't have to grind up a new party member. I'm on a time schedule, you know? With Gyarados done with, we introduce ourselves to one of the best Pokemon champions, Lance, and agree to team up with him to stop Team Rocket. We head back to Mahogany Town and raid the strange store. I always enjoyed the Rocket Base raid as a kid. Teaming up with Lance and his Dragonite as they actually assault people is always a fun time. I love in the raid how Lance actually assaults people with his Dragonite. In my opinion, it adds a sense of realism to the world, because shit like that would absolutely happen if Pokemon were real. Lance is such a badass. The way that the Rocket Base works is that there are these statues, and when you walk in front of them it trips an alarm, and 2 Rocket Grunts will jump you. There are a lot of statues, and if you don't want to fight a million grunts, you can go to the computer and deactivate the alarms, which is a fun little aspect to this raid. It rewards you for being curious about the alarms, and gives you an out for the battles instead of the game forcing you to fight what seems like 100 battles. I decided to clear out the building anyways, just so I can get some much needed experience on my squad. Once in the lower levels, we have to interrogate, that's right, interrogate Rocket Grunts for a couple passwords that lead to the boss room. Once we beat the boss, we get the Murkrow to snitch and give us the password to the power room. Once inside, Lance and I massacre the Electrode and celebrate our victory. As a kid, I would always try to capture the Electrodes, but I was rarely successful because the Electrode just commit dead and self-destruct. Anyways, with the Rocket Base cleared out and everyone dead, we can finally proceed to the 7th gym in the game. Price's gym is pretty straightforward. The trainers are not that difficult, and the ice puzzle is fun and only spans the one room. One thing to know about me is that I love ice puzzles in Pokemon games. That might be a bit of a hot take, but I don't even care. Ice puzzles are fun. One thing to also know about me is that as a kid, I was really bad at ice puzzles. More on that later. But with that, let's take on Price. While the Price fight is playing, I want to take this moment to address one of my biggest issues with this game. I mentioned it early in the episode, but my biggest problem with this game is the level curve. The game starts off pretty standard with leveling from the start up to the 3rd gym. After that, however, the game essentially flatlines. Gyms 4 through 7 are essentially the same levels. I mean, look at this. We're on the 7th gym and still facing Pokemon levels in the 20s. My team has hardly leveled up since the Morty fight. This really hurts the game's momentum and makes me feel like I'm hardly getting anywhere or getting better. As a kid, I never really noticed this, but that was only because the game was my first mainline Pokemon game and I didn't know anything different at the time. Not until I played Pokemon Diamond. However, that's another episode for another day. Anyways, back to the gym fight. Marianne swept his whole team and hardly took any damage. The end. Moving on. Immediately after getting the 7th badge, we are called by the professor and told that the radio tower has been taken over and that something is amiss. So naturally, we go to the radio tower and engage in friendly battles with the totally not terrorists called Team Rocket. First up is the radio tower. This was very tedious and annoying. So much self-destructing, so much accuracy drops, and so much bad RNG luck. I'm one of the unluckiest gamers when it comes to RNG, and it shows here in the radio tower. I hate this process as every time I heal up, I start a battle and immediately get half my team dropped due to explosions and poison. All coupled with accuracy drops. Sunnyside would get hit once with Smokescreen and proceed to start missing like he was at -6 accuracy. Accuracy moves are so stupid. Anyways, I clear out the tower, defeat the boss, and make my way to the underground. The underground starts off with us getting jumped by a band kid, whose dreams of being cool and relevant like Lance are driving him to whole new levels of cringe. So naturally, we knock some sense into him by absolutely kicking the shit out of him. Afterwards, he starts rethinking his life and walks away. Maybe now he will realize that nobody goes to sporting events for the band, and that the biggest thing that the bands do is remind people when it's appropriate to take a bathroom break. Anyways, I struggle with the wall puzzle for a period of time that I am not proud to admit and make my way to the storage room and rescue the director. He gives us his ID and we return to the radio tower to commit identity theft. The admins on the upper floor don't really put up much of a fight, and the final boss fight of the broadcast floor is also really easy and also doesn't give too much of a problem. This is what happens when you're still fighting level 20 Pokemon after the 7th gym. There really isn't much of a challenge in this game right now up until the 8th gym, outside of RNG screwing me of course. Anyways, the filler arc is over, and we can proceed in the plot by heading towards the final gym challenge in the game. On our way to Blackthorn, we come across the ice path. I love this route. It is filled with ice puzzles, which makes this route very engaging and fun to play. One of my biggest memories in this game involves me getting stuck and struggling to figure out how to get through the path. Remember when I said I used to be really bad at ice puzzles when I was a kid? Yeah, this path is what taught me that. I remember I ended up asking my older cousin to solve this puzzle for me. He got through it without issue, and I was like, wow, this man is a genius. We arrive in Blackthorn City and are ready to get to the final gym badge. This gym challenge is hands down the most tedious in the game. The reason why is because of Dragon Rage. Because we are so low leveled, Dragon Rage is still strong enough to 2 to 3 shot my entire team. It's completely broken. Also, every single Pokemon in this gym knows Thunder Wave. Yeah, this gym isn't really a fun time. The puzzle is really easy, and we take down the trainers without too much going wrong because they only have 1 to 2 Pokemon each. And we start the Claire fight. This fight was horrible. Dragon Rage is too much for our team right now, and she always has Thunder Wave ready to slow down any Pokemon I have that outspeeds her Dragonairs. The team puts up a fight, but Dragon Rage and the fact that Dragon types are OP in this generation are too much for the team to overcome, and we lose round 1. As a kid, this fight took me forever to beat. I never grinded too much, so I would always come in slightly underleveled like I am now. So naturally, I have to grind up my team a little bit. I don't necessarily need to grind to beat Claire, but I need the extra levels to help with the Elite Four anyways. I grinded everyone up to level 40. I don't need to be this high of a level to fight Claire, but it'll help with the Elite Four. The grind wasn't that bad. Blitz evolved into Typhlosion, and Falco evolved into Pidgeot. I also benched Sunnyside and replaced him with Brigade the Skarmory. Sunnyside just wasn't cutting it, and with Skarmory, I add much needed bulk to the team. His moveset is ass, but his job is mainly to wall shit, so it should be fine. Also, Celadon still will not evolve. We've had them on the team since he was level 5, and now he's level 40 and still won't evolve. I have no idea why he won't evolve. After grinding up a little bit, I'm ready for a rematch with Claire. It starts off strong with Blitz dodging 3 straight Thunder Waves from her first Dragonair and finishing off with a quick attack. Second is Kingdra, so I switch to Marianne. Marianne paralyzes it and starts going for Spark. She tanks everything that Kingdra throws at her, and Marianne takes down the Kingdra. Next is the second Dragonair, and we trade Thunder Waves and start trading Sparks and Thunderbolts. Eventually, the second Dragonair goes down, and it's down to our final Pokemon. I paralyze it and start going for Sparks, but I run out of Sparks. I started going for Surf. Unfortunately, I get bent over and violated by RNG as Marianne starts getting paralyzed every turn, then starts missing Surf on the turns she didn't get paralyzed. To add insult to injury, she gets crit by Dragon Breath and goes down. I send out Blitz and go for Quick Attack, knocking out the Dragonair, earning me the final gym badge. However, Claire is a bitch and won't accept the fat L until I pass a dragon test, whatever that is. So I quickly do that, get the badge, and now we can move on to the Elite Four. So after teaching Red Gyarados Waterfall, I illegally crossed the border into Kanto, avoiding border patrol and making a break for the Elite Four. The road to Victory Road isn't a problem. I really like how you start to see Kanto Pokemon on this route, like the entire Bulbasaur line and even a Blastoise. As a kid, I loved seeing these Pokemon start to show up. It made me feel like I was playing in the same world as the anime. I used to think I could find the Kanto starters in the wild somewhere, so when I got to Kanto, I started getting wild encounters hoping to find one of the Kanto starters. Unfortunately, I was unsuccessful. We make it to the gate of Victory Road without issue, and now it's time to conquer Victory Road. I love how you can just skip the legendary Pokemon encounter and go straight towards the Elite Four. I know I've said this before in this video, but I really like how this game gave you a choose your own adventure type of deal. You can take most of the gyms in any order you want, and if you don't feel like doing the legendary Pokemon quest, you can just skip it. I decided to skip the Lugia mission because I don't really like Whirl Islands. I find that whole thing to be really tedious and annoying, and I don't really need Lugia on my team, and I don't really feel like figuring all that out again. Even as a kid, I would just skip the Whirl Islands in Lugia and go straight to the Elite Four. This is probably the easiest Victory Road in the franchise. It took me a little over 1 minute to get through it. Yeah, it's very short, and I haven't even played this game for a few years. Anyways, a band kid tries jumping me again and I kick his teeth in and send him packing back where he came from. The only member of my team who fainted here was Eevee. If he would just evolve, this wouldn't be a problem. Anyways, without further ado, it's time for the Elite Four. First up is Will. Will wasn't too difficult. I only lost a few members of the squad during this fight, but apart from that, this was pretty straightforward. As a kid, I always really liked his Xatu and wondered where I could get one. Besides that, I don't really have any memories with Will. I will say though, I have the worst confusion luck in the history of Pokemon. My Pokemon hit themselves in confusion on average 8 out of 10 times. Tell me that I'm a lucky gamer, because I'm definitely not. Second is Koga, and this guy was a total pushover. I swept his whole team with Amphi and Blitz. Yeah, poison types aren't really that good in Generation 2. Third is Bruno. This fight was going really well until Machamp. Machamp came in, and suddenly all of my flies started missing. Machamp put the hurt on the team in this fight, but ultimately it was not enough to stop me from taking the win. 3 down, 1 to go. Last up is Karen. Karen was a total pushover like Koga. I would argue she was easier than Koga. Dark types are not really well developed in their debut generation. Dark type moves are all special in this gen, and most dark type Pokemon are physical attackers, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Also, dark type moves were pretty weak in this gen on top of that. And with that, we can take on the champion, Lance. This is it, our final battle, as the great Crom once said. It has all been leading up to this moment, the journey that I undertook to relive this game and go on the nostalgia trip for your entertainment. All of it has led up to this fight. Lance is a tough trainer. His Dragonites hit really hard, and I don't really have a solid counter for his team. All I can do now is just Leroy Jenkins myself in there and hope for the best. This fight was insane. We essentially traded blows the entire match. I got good paralysis luck on his Dragonites, which is why I was able to do as well as I did in this fight. It ended up coming down to Blitz versus Charizard in a 1v1 for everything. Battle of the starters. Naturally, the better starter ended up on top with the win, as Blitz took down the Charizard with Quick Attack, beating the game once again. That was so much fun. This game is always a fun time for me to play, even with the non-existent leveling system in this game. Silver version is hands down better than any modern Pokemon game to date. The only games that I consider to be better than Silver are Pokemon Platinum and the remakes of this game, Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I plan to cover Heart Gold and Soul Silver in a later episode in the series. Let me know if that would be something you all would be interested in. I hold this game very high up on my rankings of most nostalgic games. Even with its flaws, there is so much to this game that could keep you playing for hours and hours on end. I made the decision not to cover Kanto in the post game, as I was running a little short on time, and if you want to beat Red, you have to do a lot of grinding. I might come back to this game in another entry in this series to cover Kanto and the Red fight, or I might save it for the Heart Gold Soul Silver run. I'm not sure yet. And maybe I'll even build a new team while I'm at it if I come back to this game. Anyway, with that being said, you should play this game if you haven't. If you have played this game before, you should pick it up again. It is such a fun game, and it never gets old on me. I had a great time with this game, and I know you will also. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much. I had a blast playing through Pokemon Silver again. Getting to experience Silver again always puts a smile on my face, and I hope this video was as fun for you to watch as it was for me to make. If you like it, please consider leaving a like on it. And if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. Let me know what games you want to see covered in this series. Also, let me know down below what games make you nostalgic. What memories do you have of the game? Do you still play it to this day? I read all the comments and do my best to reply to them as quickly as I can. Who knows? You might inspire a new video to appear on this series. Once again, thank you all for watching, and have a nice day.